everyone, Ashley May and Mike Beer here with the Daily Racing Forum. We're going to take a look at the last race this Thursday out at Santa Anita. The day after Christmas, they have a huge card, 11 races, and it ends with a Grade 1 event on the turf course. It's the Grade 1 American Oaks. This is for 3-year-old fillies going 1.25 miles on the downhill and almost an overfilled field here of 13, Mike. And it's tough to look outside, I think, of the morning line favorite in a lot of ways, that being the 8, She Feels Pretty, who was just dominant in that performance at Keeneland. But there's still some, talent and class and other spots in here as well.
Yeah, there's a legit favorite in this race in the number 8. She Feels Pretty, coming off of a huge Grade 1 win the last time we saw her. The second choice on the morning line is also a shipper, Ashley, the number 4. And she's a horse who has a lot to offer in this race, too. I mean, 2 horses shipping in here who feel like they're going to take a lot of money, and they're going to take a lot of beating, too.
And kind of looking at She Feels Pretty, she's typically attending the pace. And speaking of pace, the Time Forum US pace projections kind of have her in that spot that you would expect, just a couple of lengths off the pace early, but kind of anticipating a fast pace here with the number 7 Vibes showing some early foot, the 10 as well. And even the outside runner, the 13, Rashmi, is a horse that's been very forward in those last 2 outings at Del Mar.
I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see how this pace plays out. It's a big field, so maybe you will have, horses going for position early in here, and that could heat things up. I'll be honest, when I went through the race a couple of times, didn't really feel like this was going to be, a super fast pace, but I guess it's possible.
And the LP flag would be attached to the 6, but the 6 is such a deep closer that you don't see Strutting on the screen here. So we'll kick it off here with the inside runner. The number 1 Omaha Girl is going to get blinkers off now. Also entered in the race on Friday at Santa Anita. So we'll have to debate if she stays in. We'll find out in just a couple of days. She was able to win 3 starts back, going 1 mile and a 16th. And they've tried different things with her, Mike, and it just seems like they really haven't worked to this point in the career.
Yeah, it really hasn't. I mean, it's not... To me, she's a tough call because I feel like there's an argument to be made that I'm surprised they haven't run her on dirt yet as a 3-year-old, because she was actually a pretty good dirt horse as a juvenile, but they've just kept her to turf, and the results are mixed. I don't think she's run a race yet that's really going to beat this field. And then you have to, of course, deal with her stretching out here to 1.25 miles. Now, she does, at least on the dam side, she's got the pedigree to get a distance of ground. The question is she good enough?
And the 2, Sakura Blossom, at times kind of has suggested that she would like added distance, and she's gotten a couple of instances where she's been able to do that at Del Mar, and then more recently Kentucky Downs. I honestly don't want to use those last 2 races in Kentucky against her. It's just that prior than that, I just wonder if she's quite to this level. Medora's finished her in front of her, and obviously you mentioned the race at Kentucky Downs, the winner she has to face again.
Yeah, she's got huge questions to answer here. I mean, she's a maiden still on the turf after 7 career starts. She goes off at huge prices every time they run her in stakes races. I mean, I really respect this trainer, and he's just sort of keeping the faith here and pressing on in another really difficult spot for her. I thought she was hard to make on paper.
The 3, Medora, will actually take a look at her most recent performance out at Santa Anita in the Grade 3 Autumn Miss. Now, she does have to face the winner again, Watchtower, but I thought both of these fillies really ran very well. Medora, I also think personally, Mike, has just been really well handled by Peter Urton, kind of picking spots for her and knowing where to put her. And she shows up and sort of has been able to adapt to different trips.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I didn't really necessarily feel like she had an excuse in here. She's just going to get run down on the wire there at a really short price. She ran fine in there. If I'm being honest, I'm worried about the 1.25 miles for her. And I'm not really sure. I mean, she was obviously off to a great start of her career. She ran some really impressive races early on. And I'm starting to wonder if she's really gotten that much better as time has gone on.
The 4, Catherine Marissa, was able to win last time out at Kentucky Downs. And I'm going to turn this over to you, Mike. I honestly don't know what to do with her, because we talk about Kentucky Downs form and how that doesn't necessarily translate. And I felt like 2 back at Saratoga, she should have won and she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to get too excited either about the Kentucky Downs race, although she did look good winning that race, and it showed that she can get a distance of ground. So I guess those are the positives. The Kentucky Downs races are hard to get a real read on. I'll disagree slightly with the Saratoga race. Could she have won? Yes. I don't want to say she should have won, because Cinderella's Dream to me is just way better than just about any 3-year-old turf filly that we have in this country. And Kathy Mercer was only second best her. I thought she ran fine. And I do think she's just trending the right way. And she's one of the few horses in here where I really don't think you have to worry about distance.
Yeah, I just felt like You're right about Cinderella's dream. It's just the fact that the trip that she got was perfect on
Yeah.
that day. And maybe she just was second best, but still well defeated out at Saratoga. The 5 Watchtower, we saw her victory in the autumn miss. I think she's a little bit of a sleeper in this spot, especially at 10-1. We saw her a little bit closer 2 starts back at Santa Anita, but more recently she was rolling from further off of it. And you have to think the pace, she can kind of adjust to it. She has gotten decent paces to kind of run into in both of those mile events, but very curious to see her stretch out in distance.
Yeah, she's one who is hoping that that pace projector is right, that they're going to go in front of her here and set this thing up so she can make a run like she did last time. Overall, I just thought she got a great trip and ride in there with some pace in front of her, and she came running and nailed Maduro on the line. I still feel like she's got to run better than that here as she stretches out a quarter of a mile, but maybe the race will set up for her.
Another horse stretching out in distance is the 6 Strutting, who does have experience going longer, a mile and a quarter, a mile and a half overseas. And her first start, kind of stateside, I thought was really good, just ran out of real estate. And obviously, she's going to need the pace help like the 5 Watchtower. But I think she's a big sleeper in this spot, especially at 15-1.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. And this is her stateside debut here. She actually runs. She does run late in this race. I'll be honest, Ashley, and you can comment on this in a minute here. I don't love the horse that she fails to run down in this race, but maybe she just needed to start off a little bit of a layoff. She comes up short in here. I'm wondering, she's bred to stretch out. I think they thought she was a distance horse early on over in England. They ran her in the Pretty Polly. She held an entry in the Ribblesdale. They didn't run her in that race, but those are distance races for 3-year-old fillies. And I feel like they thought she was going to be good going longer, except she actually got better when they cut her back to a mile over there. I'm very confused with this horse. I still want to use her somewhere at a price.
Yeah, and it's tough for me. I know on the biggest stages when we see European, say turf shippers going long, usually they have the advantage. But I also feel like in some of her races, she might be more suited for the downhill, going a mile and a quarter, knowing that there might be some pace in front of her that maybe she didn't encounter in other races. It's a tough one to make, and I agree. I think you look at who beat her last time out, maybe she needed to show more. But to be able to race less than 3 months after shipping over, I think that's a little bit of a task for all horses. So a horse that you can kind of see, probably intrigued by in the exotics, the 7 Vibes, another one in here for Peter Urton. She's been able to win her last 2, both on the turf. And, her figure on the dirt 4 back was okay. It was an 81, but it seems to me that in terms of her running style, it's a little bit more suited for the turf.
Yeah, going to get a good trip in this race, I think. Again, I mean, you can go back and pull that replay of her win last month. She got a perfect trip in that race and got through on the inside. But I also really liked the way she finished that race off. Once she got through on the inside, she's now 2 for 2 routing on the turf. She's got great tactical speed. She's trending the right way. She's probably going to be some kind of a big price in this race. I can see using this horse somewhere. It's not going to be easy for her to win here. I could see her maybe getting a piece of this.
The 8 she feels pretty, 7-5 on the morning line. We'll take a look at her most recent effort out at Keeneland, Grade 1, Queen Elizabeth II Cup. And I mean, this is sensational to win with a 6-length margin here, 100 Beyer. I mean, at this point in her career, she had done a lot right. She was favored in here. And I think even though she was favored, Mike, she ran better than a lot of people expected.
100%. I mean, she was good anyway, on the way into this race, but she took it to another level here. This is a really, really impressive win in fast time. All of her races are good. Obviously, distance is now the main question in front of her, but they went a mile and 3/16 in the Belmont Oaks, that Grade 1 earlier in the summer. She ran great. And I know she came up short at the end. In my opinion, anyway, the distance did not get her beat. She ran great in there against 2 really, really good 3-year-old fillies.
The 9 Baltic Fire, a big price in here. Daughter of Flame Away was able to pick up her second career victory last time out. Obviously, she ran fine at the mile and a 16th, but there's a lot of questions here. The class and also a significant stretch out to a mile and a quarter.
Yeah, it just hasn't run a race that's going to really make her competitive in here. I respect that she's coming off of a win here for a really good trainer. They're going to try and stretch her out, but there's obviously a lot working against her.
The 10 Shadowless, you can see they've tried different things with her. They've sent her to Horseshoe Indy, Churchill, Saratoga. Now they're going to get her on turf for the second time in her career. And I felt like her first turf race at a mile was fine, but have some reservations with her about getting the distance.
Yeah, she's just not my kind of horse. I mean, obviously she's got a little speed and, maybe that makes her dangerous. Her only turf start, I don't think it's a great performance, but it's not a bad one. I mean, she ran fine in that race. So maybe she will just handle turf and maybe she's a better horse now than she was a year ago. and the only turf start, but she's just not my kind of horse.
The 11, Mizzy Ann, she was closing late last time out, but was no match for Vibes, the winner in there. Prior to that, though, she was able to graduate. I think similar story. I mean, she's trending in the right direction, but I just think when you compare her to others, I personally don't like Vibes in this spot, so she would be a little bit of a tough sell for me.
Yeah, I feel like we probably disagree on Vibes and this horse a little bit. We'll see. It's obviously she's based on what she's done so far. She's not good enough to win this race. I'll just say that I did like her win 2 starts back. She really ran through the stretch. That I thought it was a visually impressive win, and she was defeated by Vibes last time as the favorite. I did not like the trip or the ride that she got in there. I don't know why she's sitting wide all the way around the track at the back of the pack. And then she actually was running at the end of that race, but it was way too late.
The 12, Valence, this one coming in from Zia Park, where she was able to win the Zia Park Oaks, but different ball game. Mile and a 16th on the dirt. Prior to that, had some turf experience at Canterbury, even further back at Golden Gate. From a figure standpoint, I mean, her 90 last time out would put her in the mix for something here, but it's just a different surface. Her turf races, I don't think, are to the level of this field.
Yeah, and she got it. She got the big figure on a different surface when she was able to make a clear lead. I don't know if that's going to happen in here. Her turf races overall just don't make her a real contender in here.
The 13, Rashmi, is in this spot, was able to graduate up at Woodbine, and that made an optional claiming event. And since then has been very consistent, has been able to win those last 2, picked up that 3rd career victory against allowance level non-winners of 3 Life. Another one that is stepping up, but has some outside kind of early speed in this field. And you can see she's cross-centered. Maybe they will, like the other horse in here, might go to that race on Friday. She seems like she's getting better, Mike. Just, I wonder in terms of trip, what's going to happen at the 1.25 miles.
Yeah, post 13 really works against her, but she gets better every time Jonathan Thomas sends her out there. She doesn't really have a pedigree to stretch out, so I'm sort of worried about her picking up a 1/4 mile in this race in a grade 1, but she's been impressive winning those last 2 starts.
All right, we'll look at our top selections here for the grade 1 American Oaks. I have a feeling that we're going to be in different directions underneath, and somewhat. There's no getting around the number 8, She Feels Pretty. Obviously, what she's been able to kind of rack up in her career so far, she's impressive. And I just think distance should work well for her based on the 1.125 mile win, but also her running style, Mike.
Yeah, I just feel like she's really well spotted here. And, as opposed to maybe some others, I don't know how people are really feeling about her stretching out. I'm really not worried about the 1.25 miles for her. Of course, she's going to have to prove it, but I'm not worried about the distance. I just think she might be too good for these horses.
And you mentioned you have a little bit of respect for Vibes. You use that one in the 4th spot, but Mizzy Ann you'll use underneath here in 2nd.
Yeah, I just think she's going to be a price in this race, and I really do think she ran a lot better than it looks, even though she was defeated as the favorite last time.
My prices come underneath in the form of the 6, Strutting. Really curious to see this one stretch out in distance. We'll need the pace help, though, as well as the 5, Watchtower. I think she's sort of been under the radar throughout her career, especially since joining the Richard Baltus barn, and maybe she can step up at a price. But no getting around the number 8, She Feels Pretty. She is our top pick in Thursday's final race at Santa Anita, the grade 1 American Oaks. Good luck.